Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I wanted to share a memory with you that popped in my head from my time in Egypt. Like most foreigners, especially native English speakers, in order to facilitate my own studies, I had to work. So I taught English, as many native English speakers do. I taught English in an international bilingual school. Now, I was a co-teacher with this brother. His name was Wasim, Mr. Wasim. Mr. Wasim he was a tall guy, good looking guy, clean shaven, like a baby's backside, clean shaven. Mr. Wasim was musbil every day, pants below his ankles. Mr. Wasim wore a suit, a full suit, shirt, tie, jacket, pant, the whole nine. He wore full suits every single day when he didn't have to. Mr. Wasim spoke with a British accent, somewhat of a British accent, although he had never set foot outside of Egypt. Yeah, I used to ask, man, why do you speak with a British accent? You've never been to England. He claimed that the system that he studied under to learn English was British. So I said, okay, I guess so. Yeah, all right, whatever. Now, me and the other brothers who were like me, who called to Salafia or who claimed Salafia, we were all pants tailored above our ankles. Almost all of us wore thobes, every day, outside of work. Attended classes depending on our various levels and interest of study. So we were in Egypt for a reason. We were there for study. Mr. Wasim and we were co-teachers. So we taught inside the same room. We taught the fifth grade boys who were the worst of the worst at that time. So you needed two teachers in there, two male teachers. I remember myself and some other brothers having to go to the administration because they would not allow us to wear thobes at work. So we went to the owner's husband, and we talked to him and explained to him why we wanted to wear thobes. And he said that thobes are not permissible in this school and so on and so forth. So we compromised. We said, okay, so what if we wear button collared shirts but we just don't tuck them in? And he agreed to that. So we bought these big shirts, and we hung them out so to cover our front and our backside. Okay, so Wasim and we were kind of like oil and water. It was a love-hate relationship between us. He felt like I was extreme. You don't have to be this way, Mr. Malik. And I told him, you're running toward the West, and I'm running away from the West. I know what's in the West. I know what's waiting for you as a Muslim. And you're so busy trying to imitate like you're from the West, and you're not. So we used to bump heads, to make a long story short. But we also had times where we got along and we laughed and, whatnot. And he used to tell me all the time, he used to have this British air about him. And so I used to laugh at him a lot. And I think he did. I mean, obviously he didn't like that, but it was funny to me at the time. Mr. Malik, you don't look like a teacher, because I had this big shirt on hanging out. I had baggy pants that were above my ankle. He had a nice suit on with a nice tie every day and a jacket, and he never took the jacket off. It's 200 degrees in Egypt, and he's got this suit jacket on, and, he used to walk around the school with this air about him, and it used to make me laugh. So I laughed a lot. And, we used to bump heads on some things. So anyway, Mr. Wasim, with all of the things that I just named, Mr. Wasim used to read the Quran every day in the staff lounge. He was always reciting the Quran. If you saw him, you wouldn't see any sunnah upon him. Nothing. There, if you saw him in the street, you wouldn't know he was Muslim at all. There's nothing. He wore a suit every day, his pants below his ankle, no beard, But like I said, he recited the Quran every day. And we had conversations about that. We had some religious conversations, and he was very devoted to the Quran. Now, Mr. Wasim was not married either. Okay. He was, he looked older than he was. I want to say he was like 28 or 29, but he looked more like he was 34 or 35. I don't know if it was just the way he carried himself, that made him appear older. But, come to find he was actually younger than what I thought he was. So, Mr. Wasim was not married, right? And then, lo and behold, alhamdulillah, he announced that he was going to get married and that he was going to marry one of his cousins. So, everyone applauded him and wished him luck and, not luck, but, told him, we wish for him the best. We'll make dua for him and all of that. Mr. Wasim never missed days of work. And then slowly but surely, he began to miss days. So I would have to take over the full classroom. And then it got to the point to where he wasn't showing up at all. So, I contacted him and I found out that he was, in fact, refurbishing his apartment. The Egyptians put some very unrealistic standards on getting married. The men must have this, the men must have that, they must have a house that they own, and it has to be fully furnished. And now we're talking Egyptians, so these people are not rolling in dough. They don't have money like that. Even with a profession like being a teacher, an Egyptian teacher doesn't make much money. They make nickels and dimes, literally. But he was refurbishing his apartment to accommodate his new wife's family. It has to be up to standard. The family would come and inspect it before the marriage and all of that. Okay, so Mr. Wasim is going to get married, and he's going to make Hajj. He's going to make Hajj. So he's made plans to now make Hajj before his marriage. Mr. Wasim takes off. We had a short conversation. I told him, hope the best for you, and may Allah bless your marriage and make dua for me, when you're in the haram, and, all of the pleasantries. So Mr. Wasim takes off and he goes to Hajj. The plan is to be married 2 weeks after he returns from Hajj. I get a phone call later. Mr. Wasim was in the Prophet's sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was in the Prophet's masjid. He made taslim from the salah, had a heart attack, and fell over dead. He never made it back from Hajj. To my understanding, he was buried in the graveyard where the Sahaba were buried. That was the word that I got. They didn't bring him back to Egypt. They buried him there. To my understanding, he was buried in the graveyard where the Sahaba were buried. There is a lot to unpack here and to take from that situation. Having a beard, wearing my pants the way I wore my pants. In some ways, made me not look down on Mr. Wasim, but maybe think a little less of him. Man, you're an Arab. You can read the Quran and you're running around here looking like you're from New York City or something, and you've never set foot outside of the country. Why are you, so we used to have this kind of tension. But Mr. Wasim died in the masjid after Asr Salah and was buried in the same graveyard or cemetery as the Sahaba. I really had to take a step back, and I had to reevaluate how I understand things. I had to come to that realization that 100% it's not about, or the exterior is not the be all end all. The exterior is not the guarantee, or the guarantee, it's not, there's no guarantee that because you have your beard, and you look a certain way, that, your heart is proper and correct and pure. Therefore, you get a pass to Jannah. There was a great emphasis on the exterior. And what I learned was, you don't know who Allah loves. You don't know who Allah loves. You don't know the heart of a person. Mr. Wasim, no beard at all, no mustache, suit every day, musbil, fake British accent, and I hope to have the end that he had. That was really a learning experience for me. That was one of my big takeaways from my time in Egypt. Of course, the beard is wajib. Of course, we're supposed to wear our pants above the ankle, as we were commanded to by our Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam. But that's not where it ends. Upon reflection, Mr. Wasim, he recited the Quran every day in the staff lounge when others were idle talking, joking and laughing, complaining about students, eating, sleeping. He read the Quran a lot off of his computer and off of the physical mushaf. I don't know, it's just a memory. It's just something that I was thinking about today, something that sort of keeps me grounded in not being judgmental, whether it's verbalized or not. You don't have to verbalize it to have or be making judgments of people. Because again, you don't know who Allah loves, and you don't know an individual's connection to the Creator. And you don't know how much that individual loves the Creator. You don't know. Mr. Wasim, rahimahullah, taught me a lot. Definitely taught me a lesson on that one. May Allah bless him with the highest level of Jannah. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.